At 6 o'clock on May 21st, I will call the village board trustees to order. Roll call.
Bell,
Here.
Berto. Here. Shampoo. Here. Harf.
Here.
Housen. Here. Orozco. Here. Warner. Here.
Can I get the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Orozco,
Second.
second by Hart. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we want to remind our Zoom participants?
Thank you. Yes, anybody on Zoom, please mute your device if you're not speaking. You're not called on you. Thank you, Denise. Okay, and approval of the minutes. We have both April 30th and the special board meeting on May.
I have one correction on May 8th, the second set. Page 7, line 6, Bell invited the board.
Okay. I don't have it in front of me, so I'll get it.
It's just spelled wrong, B-O-R-D. Yeah.
Correct spelling.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented with that one being corrected.
Okay, that's for both of the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Berto, second by Orozco. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, comments, correspondence, concerns from the public. Public comment from the 3 non-transferable minutes per person. Anybody out there like to speak? Yes.
Lori Hart, 10513 Cherrywood Court. At the board marina meeting on May 8th, a village resident was removed as a committee member and an Illinois resident was appointed to fill the vacancy. The new appointee has had a yacht in the marina for several years, but he's not a Wisconsin or Sister Bay resident. Julie stated that the village would have to change our ordinance to allow him to fill the position. He was put on the committee and nothing more was said about the ordinance. So I'm asking the board that if they plan on keeping a non-Wisconsin resident on the committee, that they make only an exception to the ordinance and not make a permanent change to the ordinance. We shouldn't be setting a precedent by allowing non-residents to fill vacancies on our committees. Thank you.
Steve?
I got a couple of things. Steve Usinski, one of Sister Bay address is 10519 Fieldcrest Roads. Home address is 3328 Lake Drive, Hartford, Wisconsin. This thing about employee housing, because I know the Wills property has been around for a while and you're trying to get employee housing there. But in my estimation, after having dealt with big projects before, you're about 5 years away from you actually being able to open the door and rent it to somebody. And just out of curiosity, I've been talking to some of the local employees that have been running. And some people say there isn't an employee housing shortage in Door County, and I think, what's his name? One of the people with Al Johnson's had said that they don't have any problem. But when I go and talk to some employees, I find out their employees who right now are living out of their car because this spring their landlord or the paid for that place they were renting found they could make more money renting to tourists than to employees. And so they're now out of a place. They can't find another place, or they say they can't to live. And there seems to be a surplus of camper trailers on dealer lots. And there also seems to be a shortage of housing. And one of the thoughts that I had is if you went and rented some camper trailers and put them on one of the trailer lots around here and just rent the like 4 or 5 spots, whatever you have, and then rent that to these people that can't find housing, would do a couple of things. It would give people with some housing, would also give the village some experience in being a tenant with this kind of thing once the Wills property goes ahead. And another option that I thought about was when I talked to some of these people, they don't seem to have any idea about a bulletin board. I thought Sister Bay had something like that, but according to them, they don't know of anything like that. So might be another thought. Another thing I was going to talk about was I was at the Parks Committee meeting and provided some copies of the court cases to Denise that she had requested that say a village is not obligated to cut vegetation along any road. There's no legal obligation. It's already gone before the Supreme Court twice. And the Parks Committee did say that there isn't any policy or guidance on how the road right of way should be maintained or treated from the lot. I was kind of surprised to hear that. As far as looking at Fieldcrest Road, there isn't much point in doing that unless you know what the tree stave on the road looked like beforehand. And the branches that have been cut off the cedar trees, just so everybody understands, Some trees will grow branches back, cedar trees won't. Once those branches are cut off, that's it. But what you're seeing today is gonna be it for, till the tree dies. And when you trim more than 1/3 of the branches off of any tree or foliage, you open the tree up to disease, and the tree will go and die. Usually it'll decline the first year, and then second year won't make it, third year it'll just be sticks. And we already had that happen with one of our cedar trees, where WPS got a little bit over enthusiastic and tried to set it in transformer form to cut everything off one side. So having untrained employees trimming trees without any policy and using their phones to determine right away also seem to be very troubling. And the shaded area on their phones is shown in the GS system as the right of way, but it's centered on the pavement. Right of way on a street is never centered on the pavement. It's always centered in your property line, a section line, or a quarter section line. So
Steve,
right of ways are determined that way.
Steve, that's time.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Thank you. So. Yes.
Richard Burris of 2340 Maple Drive in Sister Bay. I've got a couple things. First, I want to thank the board for the work on the beach this year and the cupola. I read that in your minutes that you plan to put a table in there, and one of the things I was going to ask about is, I was down there, I think it was 2 years ago, when people that had rented the area were in conflict with other people who had parked there beforehand. Is there going to be some sort of a board that announces when people rent and at what time, from what time? Because people go in and set up, and then other people come along and say, we have this. It's just a thought. But I really want to say I appreciate the work on the beach, and the beach looks great. I hope the plan is to keep sand and clean and rake the beach. I just wanted to point out that Denise is probably the only one who remembers this, but back in the 80s, there was a plan by the voters in town. They had a request, rather, they were going to close the harbor completely. They were going to run the break wall from the furthest point off of Sister Bay condos over, put the beach on the outside of it. We fought that, but for a while it looked like it was really going to happen, and thank goodness it didn't. One of the, so, you know, the point that I make is sometimes good ideas aren't always that good. One of the things we were finding at the same time was the first condos that went up on the bluff, because nobody wanted condos, everybody wanted the bluff. The paintings that depict Sister Bay include the water in the bluff. And so those people promised that they'd put the condos up there, there'd be no way to see them, the trees were protected, they couldn't cut the trees. A few years later, a couple trees were cut, and holy hell broke loose. Now condos come along and replace the Sister Bay Village School, and the bluff is almost clear cut. And if that isn't bad enough, now project is down on the west end of Maple that blasts into the bluff and looks like a mining operation. I thought that the bluff was sacred here in town. They're almost 100 feet deep, and from what I understand, this building will tower over the Sister Bay condos. And right now, when we come into the village, we see instead of the beautiful foliage, we see the new hotel down on that end, or and coming in 57, we see the overpopulated area there, the buildings that were put on that site of domicile. And now we're gonna have to see, coming from the north, this building towering over the harbor. It's just not correct, and I don't know how it happened. I don't know if DNR approved this removal of this rock and removal of, they couldn't blast. But their chipper has been going on for several weeks. And if you go down, and if you haven't been down to look at the amount of rock they're moving. And I remember when Freddie Bixel, who had the hotel up here, was trying to scrape away at the backside of the bluff, the amount of trouble he got into for that. And now all of a sudden they're removing all of this rock, and it will be an eyesore forever. And I hope that there is something you can do, and something that we can do to minimize that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dick.
I see Mill Road is complete on Ken Church, 2295 Hill Road, Sister Bay. Mill Road is complete, looks nice. I happened to go by there today and I took my tape measure. We are 33 feet. Are you planning to put in a left-hand turning lane, or is that completely destroyed? And also, there was talk of that was going to be on the parks and property of a no left turn through the season. Just curious if anything happened, or is this gone through the wind?
I'm not aware, but we will check check on that, Ben, I'll let you know.
They have been both discussed.
Okay.
I'll update you after the meeting.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
There were two written correspondence, one from Laurel Harp regarding the short-term rental fee. And that was sent out by Heidi electronically, and then one in the packet from Juan Onellis regarding, the plastic bags.
Is his letter going to Green Tier? Okay.
Okay. On to 6. Ordinance 2024-15, chapter 58, no parking, highway 57.
Okay, this was introduced last month regarding no parking in the vicinity of 1211, both sides of the street. And it was recommended, to move forward for adoption of an ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by Bertle, second by Rosebrook. All those in further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You have a
Are
question?
we allowed to say anything during these different?
Speak your mind, Ken.
I'm just curious, there's no parking on Highway 57, where are they supposed to park?
It was, I don't want to get into a dialogue with you, Ken, but there was a safety issue.
No, I understand that. But most of it's for the,
I'll talk to you after this. I can explain it. Okay, 7, contracts, intergovernmental agreement, Door County Charter.
Okay, Heidi, do you want to take this one?
How about I just make a motion to approve?
Thank you.
Motion by Bertle,
Second.
second by Champeau. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Interagency agreement, SBA bus agreement.
So this is for the new bus, to have an agreement between SBA and the village.
So moved.
Motion by Bertle, second by Roscoe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 7C, contract, human resources consulting LLC.
Okay, so this is, the previous personnel committee had talked about they're hiring someone or contracting out for some HR functions. Nate and I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago about we need to have somebody come in and do benefits administration immediately. We have an employee who is on their 30th day tomorrow, so their benefits have to be filed tomorrow. We have no one to do that, so this contract is for services as needed on an hourly basis.
How many different companies did, the personnel committee up to?
So the personnel committee actually also has it on its agenda
You didn't come to personnel.
for tomorrow. There's an immediate need that we need to get over this hump because we've got this immediate, our hair's on fire.
But why is this our hair on fire when Congress hasn't gone for 2 weeks?
Because it's July.
Well, why is
Well,
this 2 weeks?
because we have a new employee who is supposed to start receiving benefits and he has 30 days to get signed up, his 30 days tomorrow. And so I don't know enough about the
Why is our hair
benefits
on fire?
to get him what he needs.
I got you. But
He needs his benefits and he's got. the
Completely
benefits
understand.
already in
I
it.
don't understand why it wasn't taken care of earlier, but well, nonetheless.
So-
Because he didn't submit the paperwork while Tasha was still here.
Gotcha.
So I don't see this as, this should have gone to personnel in an ideal world. the
Well, our
timeline-
personnel meetings tomorrow, we can address it tomorrow.
I understand, but if we do it just to address it to personnel tomorrow, then we'll have to wait until the next board meeting for in June. And that I think would be a problem for staff.
The employee needs his benefits filed tomorrow at state.
I'm not in favor of hiring this agency to do a full review of anything else we have to do if they want to take care of this one task, even though I've only talked to one person. I'm all right with it.
That's,
One person, one task. If we need to talk to multiple people before we make that decision.
Are you talking about multiple firms?
Yes. And maybe we don't want to outsource it.
So I don't know where people are under the impression we only talked to one firm. We contacted several. They don't, we need to know.
We weren't aware.
Right, because when Nina and I had the conversation, I said, we need to find somebody to do the benefits administration immediately. And it did not go to personnel because, for one, nobody talked to me about the personnel agenda, or I would have talked about it, but we needed to get this on because tomorrow is day 30th. Personnel is not meeting till after the day, after the benefits have to be filed. So we need somebody to do the benefits administration for this employee tomorrow before the end of the day.
I understand that.
I will make a
Through that
motion
one
that we
plan.
approve Human Resources Consulting LLC to take care of the one employee for the one task and allow personnel to discuss and address it moving forward.
I second the motion.
Motion by Virgo, second by Champeau. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. 8A, fee schedule.
So what we do every year, twice a year, is we discuss proposed changes to the fee schedule. I've recommended some, they're just recommendations. And then whatever we discuss today goes in the form of a resolution to the June meeting, so it can be effective July 1st. So as you can see, I do have some recommendations in here. I can answer any questions about them.
In the letter that we received from Bjorn Johnson, it stated in that letter that we did not have an STR appeal fee. Is there something that we should be implementing in our discussion tonight, or is there another fee that applies?
I don't have that ordinance in front of me, Denise, to see if there isn't, if it's stated in the code. And I thought there was something in the code on that.
Yeah, but
That is something we
we've been
could add.
taking everything out of the code and putting it into the fee schedule.
Yeah, what? Correct. So I'm not sure if that code still has that in there. I'd have to check that. But you're right, I don't think we have the, short-term rental appeal fee in the schedule. I think it only talks about zoning board of appeal fees.
Is that code somewhere online that we could look it up while we're discussing?
You're looking to see if there is a fee in the chapter on STRs for appeals. That, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion? Well. Looking at that, I mean, I gotta think there's gonna be some discussion on the short-term rental. fee.
Yeah, I have a question. I've had a couple of calls from my constituents asking about, or just concerned about the length of time it's taking the village to, and I understand the workload issue, but taking the amount of time it's taking to process licenses and concerned that their licenses will not be processed in time for them to rent. And they're in sort of a state of limbo, wondering if the current reservations they have, because they're concerned that I'm waiting for my license to be issued. I don't know if it's gonna be issued. I don't know if the village is gonna come back to me with something I have to do. In the meantime, I have people that I have to rent to that are, that I'm renting to that it turns out I may not be able to rent to. So I'm just wondering where are we with workload? How backloaded? I'm told that it's taking 2 months to get a license. Is that correct?
I can comment on that. So all licenses that were received as of last Monday, actually the Friday before that, so,
Okay.
have been processed. And we are waiting, the majority of them have to get us additional information, so it really depends when they get us the additional information. The ones that are left to process yet came in the 15th or later.
So does process mean we've gotten back to the owner and told them what they have to do? Okay, that's great.
We also do, and we've explained that they have until, we open it up in March, and we give them until mid-May to allow us that time to process them until they become valid July 1st. That gives us like a month and a half to process. But we do try and do them earlier, and we are caught up up until May 15th. So
Okay, and I
whoever,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, somebody you spoke to either maybe you spoke to them before they heard from us, or we're waiting for something from them.
So that right now the licensing calendar is July to July, is that correct? Or July 1 through the end of June, is that right? Right. Okay, and last year, same calendar, the fee was $500?
Yes.
Right, okay, and then the $1,500 goes into effective July 1st this year.
No, it was July first of last year, they started.
I'm sorry, July 1st of last year. Okay, all right. Okay, so, then, so the reason that they would be denied, I mean, I know there's multiple reasons, but, and so let's say that they're,
One
they're
second.
they're denied because they have to do something that's gonna, they need to contract for, right? And trying to get a contractor in to do any kind of work, whether they feel it's fair or not, it's the code, okay, around it at this time of year is difficult. What if they can't?
Well, what we do is in fall, we write them, tell them, you know, it's gonna take time, so make sure that you line up your work.
Understand?
And then we encourage them to start applying in March, because we understand in case there's an issue, they're gonna need time to do it.
Okay.
How many applications have there been?
Are you where we at so far?
That was a good question.
There's lots about like this of people that did not apply yet.
So, yeah, we've issued 41 licenses. There's easily another 40 in your office waiting for issue. And then we're waiting on at least 20 who haven't submitted anything.
And those ones that are not denied, we only have one that
Oh, I
we
understand.
denied and they resubmitted. They're told we cannot issue a license at this time, we need further information from you.
So we've issued 41, correct?
Yep.
Okay, we have 611 short-term rental units
No,
in Sister Bay. You're talking about homes, right?
Right, we're only issuing them for the homes or small inns that don't have a central
We
reservation.
have 93, no, sorry, we have 87 homes.
we licensed 118 short-term rentals last year.
Okay, as of 5/1, the Door County Tourism Zone has 87 homes in Sister Bay. I'm not quite sure why there was a discrepancy.
Because you're condos, there's condo units. in
Ah,
there, so-
okay, so condo units, there's 55.
And small inns.
And small inns, there are 0. Condo units, depends on how they, because they all self-report for everyone. So it's a little bit different, but, so it looks like we have a little bit more than half, is that right? Saying you have 40?
A lot of them wait to the end to apply.
So if they can't get a contractor in to do the work that we require them to do, parking spaces, paved driveway, whatever it is, then they're just out of luck. They can't get it and they can't rent, right?
How many times are we kicking the back saying you need to actually do work? How much of it is just paperwork that's missing, or
The majority of it's paperwork.
how many times have we come back and said you need to do work on the property? Ballpark.
So most of the people listened to us when we wrote them in fall. And lined up their contractors, so they're like, it's supposed to be done by May 1st, or it's supposed to be done by July 1st, we're just waiting on that, working with them. There's one party I know of took no action whatsoever. And we haven't heard back from them, so I don't know where they're at in that position, but everybody else that I've worked with that I can think of has a contractor lined up. Or has it completed, or know it'll be completed by July 1st.
Okay. We'll just monitor it then. That's great.
Needs to respond to your question, in the ordinance, it says that anyone who has been denied a license, had a license suspended or revoked, or whose license application was not processed, may appeal the decision to the Board of Trustees upon filing an appeal form within 14 days of the written decision and paying the required appeal fee. At the end of the ordinance, it says that fees shall be established by the village board in a fee schedule and may be from time to time modified. So we need a fee or an appeal.
We don't have a fee.
Not in schedule, no.
So we will create them tonight.
And have we purchased the software already or not? For to monitor this?
So, we've already, I think, you guys, yeah.
We have one demo on it, we're having another one next week.
And how much would that cost?
It's not that much, it's There was two things. There was a website that didn't cost that much, and then this was.
$300 a month.
That's for the software, that's for the website.
That's not the website, that's a software.
That's the software. So the investment is $300 for the $300 a month for software, $3,600 a year. And what else was the other investment?
The website.
The individual. Okay, and the website we haven't purchased or are purchased?
We did purchase.
Okay, and how much is that?
I don't remember what that was. I'll have to, I
Sure.
can look it up,
No, no
but I
worries.
don't remember off the top of my head.
No worries, okay.
And then are we still hiring the enforcement compliance?
Well, we advertised and we had one application, but she can't start till fall. So that's something that, personnel has to talk.
So this fee is. I mean, the $1,500 was going to go towards their salary, so that makes a difference if we have this person or not.
Right.
So what are we spending the money on?
Well, it's supposed to be this person.
Yeah,
But that's new software and all that, but really we're not.
so far we spent $3,600.
Well, keep in mind, just because you don't have that person hired, that doesn't mean the work's not being done. That's Heidi and I. And I have a pile of permits on my desk, zoning permits, because all the work for the last, since mid-March has been focused on short-term rentals. Somebody is still doing the work. And my salary needs to be covered, so does Heidi's. So it's not like the money is not being spent.
So we are gonna have a challenge if we. Trying to say this very carefully. We're obligated to spend that money that we collect towards short-term rental enforcement and then short-term rental related expenses. We probably have not done that this year.
If what Julie's wage, what her charge out rate is and what Heidi's charge out rate is. And
Right, so if they're
she's
not, what
been
are they
working
not
on
doing?
it for, 2 months now, pretty solid with other things, being put in the role because we don't have anybody else to do it. And she's doing, a thorough job and on-site inspections.
No question that the work isn't being done, it's just that, they have other work, and I'm wondering what isn't being done, but I get it.
Well, this is pretty timely, as you stated earlier.
Yep, I understand.
This is exactly what we're looking for that person, because it does, they can only do so much, and Heidi and Julie are two people, and they're working very hard, but the other things do fall behind because the timeline on it is pushes.
So is there a way? So the license fee is currently $1,500. And if we make a change here, that would be for the new licensor or anybody that applies after July 1st, somebody new possibly.
Yeah, so if somebody new would apply after July 1st, it'd be back at, they'd be the 1,500, but somebody who's already been licensed. Next year when they apply, it would be 500. Because the thought is, we've already been through their condo documents, we've already been through their deed, we've already went through their rules, they'd have to submit again to make sure they don't change, but we've already verified their driveway, we know it's asphalt, we know it's no longer around a circular driveway. So a brunt of that heavy stuff is done. On the application side, you still have to do the monitoring and the code enforcement. I will say this, with the new rules, we've had fewer complaints, we still have complaints, but we have fewer complaints than we did previously. So I think the rules have been very helpful, the changes that we have done. And then, as you know, in here it says $150 every time you send it back, because some people just, you can send something, ask them for a list of things, and they'll send you one thing. And it's like, I need this and this, and then you'll get maybe one other, and they have to understand the general taxpayer shouldn't be paying for that, so we can reduce the fee. But then please get us everything at once, so we can review it all at once, because when you're sending another email and printing it and filing it, and then responding to another email, that all costs money. So it would encourage people to do the application right the first time.
And a lot of your time is spent on the contacting them and saying, okay, this is it's quite time consuming. I think as we said today, like, if you have to touch it and get it back to them, that's at least an hour of your time. That, we're losing less money by charging $150 for that, but no, we're not making.
You're not making money. And then there's Heidi who's copying it, I'm signing the registry.
So as I know that the village needs this compliance person, whether somebody else comes out of the woodwork, we re-advertise, personnel decides that we'll wait till fall. They will be working year round, so at this point in time, I would feel comfortable reducing it, to 1,000, but an initial one is still 1,500. I think the 150 is good, trying to get people, I thought with the new website though, that there was gonna be a way that if they didn't fill in all the boxes, it couldn't be submitted. But are not a lot of people doing that yet, so they're still doing it, by hand?
There's, the application lays out in a checklist kind of form, all of the attachments that need to be included, but it doesn't count the number of attachments that are actually uploaded. So I have to go through, print those off, and then actually see what it is that they submitted. And inadvertently, people forget stuff, so then we email them and say, you forgot this, can you please email me?
Okay, so Denise, that software you're talking about, that is something we looked at, which is very nice. But when we also had to redo the website, and because this was part of that website package, it was a way to save money. So they can submit it and not have it.
I don't think there's a way to round that entirely, because if you're submitting attachments, it's not gonna know what the attachment is. You can, they're still human.
I know, but there's things that I have to do for owning a gas station, annual testing, annual things that I have to submit to DATCP every year. And they have gone digital, I think, in the last 5 years, which is an option for some. You can still mail it in or whatever. And it says 2 documents need to be uploaded on this page. And if you don't do 2 uploads, you can't move to the next page. The next page might be 1 upload pertaining to what it's talking about there. So there are things out there that as we move forward and maybe have some time, that we could investigate that.
Yeah, it seems like we should have a straightforward website that makes it easy for you both or whoever to review and for the person.
Yeah.
To submit,
Mhm.
like, show us a picture of your driveway,
Right.
click,
I mean, if we're
okay,
paying for the
then you get the next one, show us this, if you don't attach it.
Mhm.
And I remember, that person, Mitch, I forgot his last name, he said he would even make us a website, make us a package, but, and he sent us a demo, which looked very good. So it seems like there should be a better system.
There is, if we do it separate from the website, online application, so everybody, which means everybody else would be going through the website, and then this would be separate.
Could there just not be a link that then directs you to a different website?
We could probably do that.
I think whatever makes this whole process easier for everybody.
Right.
Makes the most sense, even if it's more expensive.
Time, effort, frustration, headbang,
Yeah, nobody likes that on either side.
correct.
I'm not the biggest fan of Tom Web after the dealings I've had with them.
So one-
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So one thing to call out, and this is just something to think about, in May 3rd of 23, we had 83 homes that were short-term rentals. Today we have 87. In between, we had 85. So the trend is flat. And I'm suggesting that it will probably be down. We'll have fewer short-term rentals. That would mean fewer short-term rental to inspect, fewer paperwork to review. So my question would be, most of the time when the person that we're supposed to hire, their job, what's the majority of what they will be doing once the short-term rentals that we have, assuming they stay flat, which is generous. Once they review the paperwork, what do they do?
They were supposed to make sure that everybody abided by the rules.
Right, they go to
before-
they go to the home.
Yeah,
and
make
deal
sure
with
that
the
the garbage
complaints.
isn't left
Got
out.
it. They-
make
so,
sure that there's not noise.
Yeah, I didn't
they were
see the nuisance
also-
complaints in the packet, so we could certainly review that.
They were also going to help us with parking compliance and other
Right.
things throughout the
Right,
village.
right.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen for 5 months. January, February, March, April, May.
I think there's also some expected seasonality of it, where they're gonna have to work more than 40
Understand,
hours. in the
I got
summer,
you.
and then
I got you,
they-
but for a source of revenue that is flat and going down, I just am asking the board to consider the investment we're making in headcount for something that to be monitored that will be flat or diminishing.
Well, I think it's important to take some of the heat off of the staff.
Couldn't agree more. I just don't think it's a full-time
How
job.
about, like they mentioned, or someone mentioned, I mean, if there were, or Denise, a software that could or help process these in a more efficient way, maybe it costs more, but then we won't have to hire someone to be the enforcement person and rather just invest in a good software that will make your lives and work easier, because it is a lot. I just feel like that might be the route we should go, is to just digitalize everything and everything's uploaded and you have easy access to it. It's less filing. And just say, people, we do not accept physical applications anymore. It all has to be online. And I think it would be easier for you, and then we don't have to, figure out, like Louise said, if we hire an enforcement officer, what's the office gonna look like for that person? Not that there won't be anything to do, but it is going to change.
I'm not
a
sure.
But
lot.
I think when we originally talked, that there could be a variety of roles, and obviously when, the compliance officer was dealing just with STRs, only that money could be used for that. If the village asked them to do some other things, that would be coming out of our general budget on whatever it is that we have also asked them to do. So I think we were trying to realizing that dealing with the STRs was not going to be necessarily a year-round job, but hiring somebody year-round, because I do think that there's too much going on. Too many things that I'm not saying that we don't deal with them in a timely manner. We may push them off a month, depending upon what it is or whatever. And there might be other things that this person could incorporate into their job description to help staff with other things. So I still would like us to see us go down that path on hiring somebody, and
But that's not the job description.
I would caution on putting too much faith in technology. It's somebody that works with technology all the time. There is some level you can't replace people with, and on this application things, I mean, I deal with other complicated stuff that I'm thinking about, in my head, I'm thinking of the application I have with the FCC. They can do a great deal of data checking, but ultimately, you can still give them bad data. It still takes a person to come back and say, no, you put all this in the right format, but it's bad data. So I don't know that we could actually find a website that's really going to do that. I agree with digitizing it completely. That does streamline the processing and the humans are interacting with it. But I would just caution, we're not gonna be able to remove that human element from it. It's still gonna be pretty prevalent in this sort of
I
application.
agree with you, Nate, but I just think this is a part-time job. I don't think it's a full-time job.
Well,
So we
so,
asked the short-term rental owners how much money they make January through June.
we can see that.
Let me start over. Late December through June, asked lodging, half of whom closed.
I mean, the tourism zone
They're
will tell
here.
us that. That's,
Look at room tax.
I understand that ties pretty heavily into the fee schedule, but that's. We're really talking about the fee schedule here.
I know.
That one in particular is very relevant to this.
so what is, to pivot, zoning board of appeals. The fee is $1,500. Okay, and so if,
I'm sorry, it's 1,000.
1,000, okay. So for an STR appeal fee, which I would imagine would not be as necessarily in depth as zoning board of appeals. And maybe similar to like a preliminary site plan review, which is 500. I think that would be 500 would be a fair fee for an STR appeal for the entire village board.
These aren't gonna be, this is not a single item meeting, unlike zoning board of appeals generally is a single item.
Right.
So there's that factor too, you don't have to
Right.
put as much expense there. That would seem to make sense to me, to be on par with that.
You're also not doing class 2 notices, which is a big part of it.
Okay.
I agree with that.
We're saying 500 for STR appeal. The consensus on that? Okay. We have the other thing that we've added in here is the floodplain zoning permit. I don't see that come, that hasn't gonna come up very often. Recently, the electrical service, need for commercial, I think the big one then is going to be consensus on the STR. Does anybody else have any other fees on there they want to speak about, I should say?
I'm just gonna go ahead and make a motion and see where it lands. I will make a motion that we approve the fee schedule as presented with changes to an STR appeal fee of $500 and changing the STR fee to, or leaving it at $1,500 for an initial application, $1,000 annual application after that, and $150 for resubmit.
Motion by Berto,
Second,
second by Shampo.
can we discuss further or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
I like it as written with the $500 for those previously approved. If Julie feels that's what it's the value on that, I think we should go with 500. I feel like 1,000 is a little steep.
I don't know how we pay for somebody at 500.
Well, that's a good. point.
And for still looking higher, but then again, we don't know what that.
Well, all due respect, I think also we need to take a look at, you know, how we're allocating that SG&A and whether or not we need a full-time person. So I would agree on the 500.
Yeah, but even if it's part-time, if it's half
Yeah.
a year, I think the analysis that was done with that was presented, it was around $100,000 with everything.
With the benefits and everything, yeah.
So,
But that was full-time, right? Mhm. They cut it in half.
so if you cut it in half, so if you're saying that we have 87,
Oh, you got, no. I'm sorry, that was homes. Because I think that's the big, what everybody's biggest complaints are, individual home units. We have 87. But total units, now this would include condos. There's a lot of condo hotels. I think everybody knows.
well, Heidi said what, 118?
Yeah, total year-round units, we've issued 134 permits. But remember that one hotel gets a permit, right? So there's a number of units.
But we don't.
No, hotels don't need
I'm
permits.
sorry, condo, but I mean condos. Resort units, we have 240. Condo units, we have 55. In units, we have 90.
Each condo unit would get a separate license.
Okay,
So
so that's,
55 to 87.
yeah, so the total units is 611.
We don't. Mm-mm.
And it's a little deceiving, don't just assume because they're a condo that that's easier. The one that we're in litigation with is a condo.
Okay, I got you,
They do.
but I'm just talking about figuring out revenue, that's all. I don't know what the projected revenue is for, what, did you guys project out revenue for the short-term revenue, short-term rental licenses?
We did last year.
Okay, and how much was it?
I'd have to look at what it was last year.
So imagining that there's
Pretty
120 units and they're each paying $500, you're at $60,000 unless we get new.
So 60,000 is gonna
Around
cover
60,000.
part of Heidi and my salary, your software. You know. Teeny tiny bit, not gonna go for 10%.
I mean, I think we can, if personnel, whatever route they decide to go, whatever recommendation. We can always revisit it if we end up hiring somebody or when we end up hiring somebody. And we can revisit it and we can always refund money.
Refund?
If need be.
Short-term rental.
I think we have, if we want to have somebody full-time, I think that it probably has to be right around $1,000 a month. Because I think we do less than that, we're not gonna have the funding for it, and that's not to say we should or shouldn't have it, but I think that's the question I see at hand here.
I'm okay with that being $1,000, assuming that we are able to hire somebody.
I mean, and we talk about this, the fee schedule twice a year.
Yeah, I'm okay with your motion.
I just don't see why we raise the fee just so we can hire somebody full-time when it's not a full-time job, so. No, I would go against that.
When would this go into effect? Because we were talking about that today.
So this fee schedule goes into effect July 1st. The challenge I was talking about with Nate is you do have that box of people, however many is in there, that it's past the deadline to apply. We don't have a late penalty if you apply after the deadline. So they technically could just wait till after July 1st and apply at a lower rate. So Nate and I were talking about making it effective the next eligibility period, which is March of 2025. That part of the fee schedule.
Otherwise, you're gonna have people that have paid one license fee for 2024, and then people that came in later are gonna pay it last week.
Which isn't fair to those that pay.
That is correct.
I'd be
That's,
okay
I'll
with
amend
that.
my motion to that.
I'd be okay with 1,000 if we can revisit once we find, if we find, or when we find someone to fill that position. Yeah,
And I think I asked this last year, but why are we processing these in March to June instead of November, December period?
Because we're so busy at the end of the year with budget and other things.
We'd asked staff last year, like, when is the appropriate time to do it? And this was consensus from staff.
Okay,
All of the licenses run on that cycle.
well, that's because we made it that way. But I was wondering if we wanted to change that or
The
if
state-
everybody's happy.
That's the
If you're-
state's license year as well.
Okay,
The state.
Ephraim
license.
does November. It seems to work for them, just curious.
Like liquor and the licenses Heidi typically deals with are running that cycle, so it was. The thought was that, I wasn't here when that was initially discussed, but my understanding was the thought was to keep it on the same licensing schedule as all of the other licenses. Make it easier on people needing a license and then staff.
It
I don't
just
know if
seems
it
like
is
it's
easier,
backing up to
but-
this rental season and this problem of people not getting their licenses and not knowing if they are actually able to rent. And I saw one tourist posted on Facebook that their rental in Sister Bay was no longer got a license, so they went to Bayfield. They're like, we're just gonna take our money elsewhere, which.
Like I said, the only one that we said you are officially denied, they resubmitted and they were approved.
Okay, it was just some tourist commenting on Door County vacationers. I don't know.
Residents that commented as well.
Okay, we have a,
So I amended my motion to include March 2025 in it.
so it's March 1st, that the,
Heidi, is it effective? It's March 15th, isn't it? Or is it March 1st?
The application period begins March 1st.
So it's March 1st.
you good with that? All right. Any further discussion?
Nate, just that this would then go to a resolution for adoption next month.
Okay, so this is just a recommendation at this time.
Yeah, it has to be adopted by resolution.
Oh, so we don't even need a motion?
Well, I need to know what to put in that resolution,
okay.
so. The resolution will follow this, and then hopefully there's no other changes, and it's easier to adopt that one.
So, all those in favor,
I,
opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Okay. 8B.
Oh, sorry, that's me. So Lily's gonna recuse herself. Back in February, the board granted conditional licensure to Skipstone Coffee contingent on the sale of Skipstone Coffee Roasters to the new LLC. That did not occur in that fashion. The way that the business is being transferred has changed slightly. It is now the same LLC retaining ownership of the business. It's just a transfer of shares in the membership of that LLC to Lily. So Britt is resigning his position as agent for that business, and Lily is seeking appointment as the successor. This is very similar to what Wild Tomato did. When that business sold, it was just a transfer of the membership of the LLC, which allowed them to appoint a new agent. They're continuing on in the same business entity, just new members. Which is a lot easier and
the members is just Lily,
Lily is the sole member
sole member.
of the LLC now, yeah.
So moved.
Roberto,
Second.
by Allison, all those in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, motion carries. Okay. Financial reports.
So I have no Tasha to ask. My questions. And I don't know if, how well staff will know this. Page 52, Action electrical at Grassy's and Martin Properties, $4,400.
That's for the Mill Road project. If you remember right when we had that easement with WPS, we would have to pay for some stuff that was done up there.
Okay.
Keep in mind though, that there's more work to be done on that because Grassy's expressed a concern about WPS and work going on at this time of year, so we agreed that WPS said they would come back at the end of the season to finish the project, so as not to interrupt Grassy's.
Okay. Also on page 52, Elan Financial Services hydrants, $1,800.
I believe that's for painting them. Heidi, do you know?
We could ask Megan.
Or the repair? Yeah, Megan's on the phone, or Megan's on the Zoom call.
It was for new lengths of hose for hydrant flushing. I got 10-foot sections and 15-foot sections, so they wouldn't have to unravel as much hose for some of the flushing in town.
Thank you, Megan.
Yep.
Page 55, True Green Chem Lawn Weed Control. I don't necessarily have a question, but I'd like this to be on the next Parks agenda meeting. On and having a conversation on expanding where they are spraying, specifically the corner of Scandia, Highway 42, in front of the post office and up at the information booth. Page 58, Amazon Capital Service, digital tire gauge, $37.50. Why do we need a $38 tire gauge?
Eric, do you want to take that one?
Or is it Megan's, Eric or Megan?
It's mine. I replaced the one that was currently at the shop. It had broken.
Bottom of page 58, top of page 59, door landscape and nursery. We have 1990 and 2900. And I think when we did, the parks had the walk around, I thought that there were some bushes missing from what we had talked about. So I'd also like that to be on the next parks agenda, to have that conversation and look at what was prepared. And if it's actually, my memory is correct or not.
Okay, waterfront, when we did the tour, we were told what they needed to provide us, so we proceeded with Kaylee to make sure she got us a bid and the design and everything to give what we said we wanted, so she's gonna proceed with that based on our walking tour.
I mean, where we talked about by the bathrooms, that there was a burning bush or a hydrangea or something
Yep.
missing in that one spot, and there should have been something
On the back, she.
on the front also, so you can't see behind the bathrooms.
She, yeah, she gave us, so we
So
relayed.
that
all-
was not part of the original bid?
You know, I thought it was, but it wasn't.
Okay, so maybe it was then a a conversation that we had in a walk around, but never got translated to the plan and we didn't catch it.
Could have.
Okay,
But she has amended that now and she's gonna go out there and plant that.
okay, excellent. Those were the only questions I had.
Anyone else?
I had a quick question. At the very top on page. I'm sorry, there, I'm scrolling back. And I am on page 51. And so what I see here is the bills and the amount and the total. And in my old life, I was always used to seeing the amount that was spent, and then I also saw budget, which isn't on this particular report. So when I click on for additional information and I click to intranet@sisterbay.com, it doesn't, the page isn't functional. So I don't know if it should be. I'm asking that question.
Where are you clicking?
I am clicking.
The header on
Right here.
Oh, yeah, that's obsolete. That's the old website.
Okay,
So.
so,
I didn't
I just thought, okay, that's where I can find budget and so forth. So this is a snapshot in time, right? So this is for what period?
This is for the
month.
the month since the last board meeting.
All right, so this meeting date is 5/21. This was submitted a week or so ago, so this is the last 30 days. Okay. So my question would be, and this is, I don't know if this is cumbersome or difficult to do. It's hard for at least me to look at the amount, the bills that we've paid without knowing what the budget is. You know what I mean?
You want to see the financial statements?
Well, I just don't know if, I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but
We get usually quarterly statements. We'll be
Okay.
getting one at the end of,
perfect. So that leads to, okay, that leads to my next question, because I'm wondering if we can do a mid-year review. And so would that be in the June meeting?
that would be finance, not board.
Finance would do a mid-year review of where we are, and so then at that point, we'd see what we spent, what the budget is, and would also show the prior year.
Get that.
Okay, that's what I didn't know, because I've never.
I just have to give you a
Okay.
caveat, we can try.
Uh-huh.
Tasha,
Sure.
you know, is no longer here and she did tell me today that she's officially, she had originally stayed on to help, but now she is officially done. She will not be helping us at all. So if we can,
Sure.
not we, if staff can figure it out,
Okay.
Peggy and Janelle and Kara are doing this type of work,
Okay.
then we'll have that for you.
All right. Does our auditor know that Tasha has resigned?
Yes.
Is it, do we work with anyone else in finance that would need to know? Does the auditor?
Fair.
Okay, fair.
There it goes, yeah.
And we need to schedule that next finance meeting, right, sometime in June?
Probably only more since June and July, so we're 6 months. away.
No, we need to schedule a
There's another
finance
one.
meeting. I have a list of stuff that we have to schedule.
Okay.
We did talk about having one in June
Right.
with Amber.
Right.
Yeah, we got,
And I said I couldn't make the 11th. When I said that Louise and I could make
The
the
15th.
regularly
Right.
But then
scheduled
Amber
one.
couldn't make that one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Those are my questions, thanks.
I will make the motion that we pay the bills in the amount of $1,057,007.74. Motion by Bell, second by Roscoe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, staff reports. Questions?
No, but Mill Road looks awesome. I don't know, does Julie want to update us on, her administrator's report where it talked about
Sure.
or
Sure.
just in general, now that you've just gotten that news, it's gonna take you a while to figure out who
Yeah.
goes where.
Yeah, so my administrator's report, I didn't have really time to go into much more than this. Basically what we did was we sat down with Tasha and divvied up her role, where she thought what staff person could help, met with staff to find what, they could do. And so it was all assigned the way we have it here. It was with the assumption that Tasha would be able to help out a little longer. Now that she's not, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what we're gonna do. I just found out tonight. And we're just not sure. It's burning. It's burning. I'll just tell you that, it's one of those things where I always joke, I always say, the Titanic's sinking and we're rearranging the chairs on the deck. This is one where it's sinking. We've got to get help on this. We've got to figure out how to do it. And then there's stuff that happens certain months out of the year that we have to figure out. A lot of it is just, Kara and Heidi are really good with the billing and the invoicing and that type of work. Janelle is really good with bookkeeping. A lot of this, what Tasha was doing was the more really in-depth stuff. We have the auditor who has been helping. We have Baird who has reached out to help. We will figure it out. You just have to be patient. We are doing the best we can between that and all the other responsibilities. I know Megan and Eric have picked up a ton of stuff that I've asked them to help with as well, so which allows me to help more on the HR side of what Tasha was doing. We're all just working together to try and make it. That's all we can do. Be patient.
Thank you.
Megan, Rick, you have anything you want to add to your reports? Okay. And on to committee reports. Finance committee has not met, needs to meet. Let's schedule that. Fire board
I don't believe we've met.
and our green tier.
Only thing to add to green chair was the fact that I was told before I was actually on the committee that there was gonna be a tree giveaway at Piggly Wiggly that I attended with, the Smites.
Mary Smith.
And yeah, Mary and Dick Smythe and, Sarah White joined in on it with their 3 girls and myself. And it was a very successful giveaway. We were there for about 4 hours and gave away most of the trees that we had. So. And Heidi mentioned to me that I have to get started on the green committee and have a meeting. I wasn't really aware of how I was gonna do this yet, but she made it clear to me how we're gonna work it out, so. It will be up and running. And also the fact that, Lily's husband had sent a letter about doing a thing with the plastic bags and things to the community. And I think that would be a good thing to bring before the green tier committee to see what we can do to establish a little bit better way of where we can discard them, because I know that the majority of people, even like myself many times, they just go in the garbage.
Yeah.
And they end up in places where we don't want them.
Yeah, you might want to reach out also to the Door County Climate Change Committee. We were just planting trees with them this past weekend.
See, those are those committees that I just haven't been aware of. The Smites are gonna know more about that than I do, so I'll get connected. with
They're
them.
big in the climate change,
Yeah.
that committee also.
They have some good ideas, and they also want to look into options of maybe any areas in Sister Bay that might want trees, and they're willing, like the event we went to, which was organized in a different committee I'm in, Northern Bear Activism. They bring the trees wherever site you want to plant them in, and they'll kind of give an explanation of what the trees are, how to plant them, and the impact that these trees have in our environment. And it's really nice. It's educational, very family friendly. We've had a few families join with their kids, and they loved running around with the hose, watering the trees after we planted them. So that might be something they do, spring and fall tree planting. Yeah, so that might be a good committee to reach out and maybe work the climate change at the county-wide committee and they like events like that, yeah. Caldor County Climate Change Coalition. I think.
Historical Society?
Yes, short meeting, the shadow committee met and they raised an additional $10,000 to draw plans to restore the boathouse. They met again on the 8th. I don't know the results of that meeting, wasn't there. The floor was fixed in the Anderson house. In the future, they're gonna have to replace the floor again that has a solid floor because that floor that's been fixed, there's no support under the floor. The annual meeting for the Historical Society is gonna be in June and there's gonna be a book signing. And they're gonna elect their new board members at that time. And the Strawberry Festival is being held at the Historical Society this year, June 29th. History Days are June 18th. And the pig has just donated $2,500 to support Chris Kindle Market in December.
Library Commission?
I did read the report, so I mean, that's pretty clear as far as all the information that went on that day, but they are in need of a part-time facilities manager. And I think they mentioned they have 2 people that they're considering. And one of the big issues in the library is when they have Zoom meetings and meetings around the library, there's so much sound bouncing around the place. They want to do some things with sound absorbing panels, which they're gonna be asking contractors to submit some ideas on what we can do. Was the guy. Man. Who's the record spinner?
Dave Watkins.
Watkins. Because Dave Watkins has a friend that understands this stuff, plus it came up with Hans Christian with his studio down in Sturgeon Bay. Who might be able to give us some help on that. And they mentioned that for the story time in June, July, and August, they're gonna be having a therapy dog. And that there were 192 people that used the library during the power outage, which was a nice facility for people to come to and be safe. So that was that.
Kurt, just one thing to watch on that committee when you go to those meetings.
Yes.
Just remember, if they wanna spend money on something, make sure it's budgeted, because sometimes, I'm not saying it's happened, but sometimes with committees like this, they
Yeah.
decide they wanna do something. And if it's not budgeted, we can't pay the bill. So,
Oh, that brings up my question. No members were aware of any such project and felt that they should not be responsible for it. Ms. Johnson commented to that she checked with Ron Kane, who stated he also knew nothing about it. Okay, so,
are you talking about concrete repair?
yep, so bad communication. If it was for them, I believe they need to pay for it. A breakdown in communication, I presume the village already paid the bill.
We have not, it's actually on the list of items for the finance committee.
Okay. So I would suggest that, well, finance can talk about it, but I think the village pays the bill, we submit it back to them, they can incorporate it into next year's budget.
All right, Marina Committee?
We all met together.
Property Streets?
Reports in there. It's complete.
Personnel's meeting tomorrow?
Yeah.
Plan Commission?
Anybody have any questions?
SBAA?
SBA, they are, their brochure is out for 2024. And they have their bus route, they modified a bit. They're still working on hiring drivers for the bus route. I guess there was some miscommunication there with the pay rate. And a couple of people that they interviewed, had a different idea of what the pay rate was. I think it was listed as like 22 or something. I thought it was 25. So SBA said that they would make up for the, they want, because they're having a hard time hiring people, so if they do end up hiring these two, people that they interviewed that were very interested, because the village, we already budgeted a certain amount for that, then SBA will not make up for that. Because they've only interviewed the two people and.
We actually have another interview
Do we?
tomorrow. by the
Oh,
way.
okay, perfect. But they, I think they have agreed to pay the difference if need be. Other than that, what else was very relevant besides the bus band down there. I have a brochure here. Look at it. There's just a mistake in there. It says 2023 in one section, but they put stickers on it. Anyway, the brochure looks great and the bus route is on here. We did discuss, there was an issue that came up with the bus route with the local business because they're not listed on the route, so they're gonna revise next year how they name the stops here if we want to keep, so all the businesses that are on the bus route are just references to where the bus is stopping and picking or dropping off people. There was a complaint from a local business that their name was not on there. So, it'll just be revised, I guess, for next year to see how they're gonna handle. If we're just gonna maybe just number the bus stops as opposed to including business names just to make it.
The perfect idea.
Tourism zone?
The meeting was, there was nothing, glaringly crazy. As far as room tax goes, on a year-to-date basis, the numbers are only through March. So we won't have April until another couple of weeks. So through March, room tax collection, Sister Bay is down 2%. And the county is flat. Means of comparison, Bailey's is up 4%. Gibraltar is up 5%, Egg Harbor is up 3%. That's the village, not the town. So it's early, it's first quarter. And our average room rate was right in line, meaning our average room rate, again, you only can do it from month to month, so it's really not that meaningful, it's March. But anyway, our average room rate was $156. Prior year, it was $136, it's up 15%. Every reason to believe it'll be up that much for summer. My conversations with three lodging folks this weekend, I don't know anybody that's full. But, the season looks good. So, looks like Memorial Day is what it usually is. They'll get last minute, but I don't know anybody who's completely full right now. But that's kind of how it is,
I just want to add something to that report.
Mhm.
So what's interesting is the way the zone operates is they have changed it that you have to have proof that you're a Wisconsin LLC. Now to get a permit, which I thought was interesting. And then, we're always able to tell who's in violation. We did have two operators that, were not in good standing. So, one of them immediately paid and cleared it up. So that's always helpful to see that because then it helps us keep our people honest and fair so that everybody is playing by the same rules.
Yeah, the DCTC, she's excellent. She's on top of every single. And we're very unique in the fact that our county and the DCTC exists and manages all the properties that we have. So we are really great on collections. We don't have much at any given time that's outstanding or that we have to litigate. They're good. Meaning permanent, permitting. So that's where it is.
Utilities?
Does anybody have any questions?
Village Hall planning?
They have not met, but I do have to let you know that we did get the floodplain report back on it. And it looks like we're gonna be able to put our additions on and not be in the floodplain. We just have to cut it back a little bit. It's just not gonna be quite as big. And, we found a possible grant that might fund it.
Grant that would fund the village hall addition.
Oh, it's Village Hall, okay.
Yeah, so the additions, we can make it so they're not in the floodplain, just like I said, the elevator shaft is not. The bathroom addition just won't be quite as big, but it'll still be pretty good size. And then they just released a new grant that I think might work. So I'm working with Henry, the architect, trying to figure out next steps. That's promising, we might have something. If we can pull it off.
Do we have a motion to accept the committee reports? Motion by Roscoe,
Second?
second by Warner, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter to be placed on a future agenda or for committee official employee.
So I do have two things, Nate? Okay. So Destination Door County is on our June board agenda. And they have asked if there's anything in particular any member wants them to cover or talk about. Let Heidi know, and she will let Sue from Destination Door County know.
And why are they coming with you?
They contacted Nate to see if they could be on an agenda, and that's the one they settled, they agreed on.
Speaking there last year, John, talk to us.
Just general, nothing specific.
Yeah, it's just general. So if you have anything, let Heidi know and she'll relay that message. And then Heidi did talk to our new county board supervisor, and he said he would like to do a report every other month. So
Okay,
if that's okay with the president, we would add him to next month's agenda.
I would like to talk to Patrick first, but yeah, but
Do you need his phone number?
he's on the board site now, so I can reach out to him. Okay, something we should address really is the amending the bylaws. So we should-
Is there a way to address the blasting of the lamp? Oh, is that just in plan commission and it's passed and fine?
They were not allowed to blast.
Oh, I chip away at it? They're allowed to chip as
They're-
much as they want?
There was a report, some kind of study, I can't, engineering stuff, some kind of study.
It was like a geotechnical.
Geotechnical, thank you. That was done. I have not gone by there. I did go down Mill Road, but I never looked up. Because I was concentrating on the beautiful sidewalks. I guess we could, Plan Commission meets next week. Maybe we could get out there, take some pictures, have a Plan Commission conversation.
I looked at it. It's a pile of rock.
They do have a permit though.
I know, I understand.
No, so they have a permit, and they have a development agreement, and they didn't do anything for almost a year.
Yeah.
And so now they're actually starting.
Remember going around on that.
As long as somebody's keeping an eye on it being compliant with
You
the
scared?
agreement.
Permit from who?
They have a permit from the village
From the bill.
and a development agreement. Mhm.
So what were you referring to
Wasn't there an overlay bluff protection area?
There was, and that was.
That means.
There is, and that was considered, most of that applies to like tree removal. But the escarpment was a huge point of contention in that case, and that's why we had. The plan commission had required a geotechnical report done by an engineer. To make sure that the, escarpment would be stabilized.
And it was a split vote at the time from Plan Commission on approving it. It was not unanimous in any sense.
I think the geotechnical report is one thing, but so what I'm hearing is it does not violate any of our ordinances as to bluff protection, et cetera,
At this time.
at this time.
Well, if he does something wrong, that could happen, but at this time, what he's doing is in compliance with the codes.
Well, I would certainly encourage the committee that you referenced to at least view that, because it's not a pile of rock, it's a substantial pile of debris that has been removed there.
So maybe we have a broader conversation on Plant Commission, not just maybe the bluff protection overlay district, but an escarpment protection.
Make sure we're also hitting the
And
escarpment.
how many stories is the building that's going?
3,
3 stories in, from what location, from ground zero, or is, it appears they're building up, they're building, they broke it down, they're moved, now they're building up, and at what height? It appears that the building is going to begin significantly above the grade of the remainder of the road. So that
Basically where the old shampoo house was.
right.
it'll be well above the shampoo rental, the adjacent rental. It'll sit high, it'll look like a bird on a perch.
So we gotta watch it that we don't talk about something that's not on the agenda, but just quickly to answer that, it's a very tall building. And that's why the code was changed after he applied, because they realized we can't have buildings this high, so the plan commission made recommendations to the board, and the board changed it that you'll never see a building that high in that area.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, to change the code after the fact, I mean, it gets to the heart of the zoning administration in the village. One begins to wonder if village zoning is really appropriate for this village, or should we consider attaching ourselves to the county zoning where the laws seem to be more specific and sought. I find it interesting that we continually change code after the fact. I mean, I came in to inquire about. Oh, that's another whole other issue. It's just frustrating to me, very frustrating.
Well, the way the law works is you have to go by the rules in effect at application. So they had to honor some old rules, because he made the application. And it took a couple of years to get through to actually getting him the permit. And that's when they said, well, this should have never been on the books. We need to change this. But they had to honor it for that application because you legally have to go by the rules in effect at the time of application.
So
Was that a conditional use permit that was issued?
I think it was site plan review and then a development agreement.
I know, Dick, I was on the committee, I'm on the planning commission, I voted no on this, I hate that project. We checked the DNR, make sure, like, any rules that they might be breaking, and they weren't. Yeah, it's not good.
Well, I'm not gonna get into the history of the developer, but it seems to me that enough said. Please take a look. Thank you.
I will, Dick.
Anything else? Jennifer? Motion to adjourn would be in order. Motion by Rose, second by Hassan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.